Good morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to season 3 and episode number 334. I'm not sure exactly right now. 338. There we go. See, completely lost. 338 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Cryo Media Network. Yeah. Little today. I got a little in me today. Feeling good. I'm your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, a Mr. Beaver. And with me, as always, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. And that is a wonderful color on you.
Oh, thank you.
That is really, really nice color on you.
Thanks.
A big thank you goes to our podcast's founding sponsors, the Peppermaster, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and CanadianTarot.com. We have a little nibble for you. But before we do anything else, Mr. Grizzly, how's your mental health doing today, sir?
Mental health, I think, is pretty good for the most part. You know, there's still a couple of things I'm working on, but I have a raging migraine oncoming right now, so it's going to make for a very interesting start of my workday, to say the least.
Yeah. Well, it looks like it's going to be a lovely day here at the Beaver Lodge. Right now it's already above zero, so we'll see what the rest of the day brings. And, of course, because it is March 14th, it is, as Kit Ina actually says here on the chat, Happy Pi Day, everyone.
Pi, eh? Oh, 3/14, right?
3/14.
Yeah. The Ides of March are actually tomorrow, but beware the Ides of March because they're tomorrow. So today's Pi Day, yes.
Pi. Sorry. Okay, I went to my happy place there.
I could go for a piece of pie. I haven't had pie in a while.
Good morning to Kit Cassie, to Kit Vim, to Kit Grappling with Canada, to Kit Ina, to Kit Elaine, Kit Toronto, Dan. Who do we have else with us? Kit Linda M. Hello, my lovely. So nice to see you. Kit Jim. Hello, my friend. Kit Ellen said a yay when the show started. I like that. I like that very much. The enthusiasm gets you bonus beaver points. Good morning, Kit Cassie. Lovely to see you today as well. Who else do we have with us in the chat? Kit Sean. Hey, nice to see you. And Tabby G as well. And Kit Jillian. Kit Wishful is here with us this morning. How are you? It's so nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. It's always a pleasure. And I believe that is everyone that we have. Scrolled back up to the top to see if some people popped in just to get their hellos before we get started in earnest. Kid Michael, there you go. Hello, my friend. Nice to see you. All right, kids and cubs. Interesting stuff in the news. There's stuff going on nationally, of course, but a lot of the really interesting stuff the past few days has been a little more international, so we might touch on a couple of those along the way today. But one of the big stories this morning, other than something having to do with the Prime Minister, which we will show you. I don't know if you have the clip already. Nope. All right, then I will look for it. Yes, and go Team Heron. By the way, for those who don't know, our curling club here in Kingston is hosting the Ontario Senior Provincial Curling Championships. And you'd think, like, oh, well, senior curling, you know, who needs to go see that? But when we looked at the list of the teams that were there, Alison Goring, past winner of the Scotties, Sherry Maddaw, another person that's probably, if not already in the Curling Hall of Fame, will be. Um, with the men as well. I can't remember all of them off the top of my head, but there are a lot of big names, people that we saw on television at the Briar, at the Scotties, at the World Championships, many, many times who are coming. So it's not just some club play. Yeah, Mike Harris, the other Mike Harris, not the guy who used to lead.
Not the former provincial premier.
Yes, not the former provincial premier. Oh, and yes, Mr. Heron represents our club, and it seems, according to Michael, that he thumped Mr. Harris, who I believe is a past Briar winner, if I'm not mistaken. So, some good curling. I'm going to be checking some out over the course of the weekend when I have the chance, because you know, it's good to support our athletes at all levels. We often only see the people when they're at the Olympic level, because that's where the biggest glory is, or at the pro sports level. But there's masters level sports and all that other type of stuff as well, and senior sports, and and even in curling, there's super seniors or so, and there are world championships for all of them too. So, but they just don't get the big TV contracts. But there's a lot of people who are still athletes, well into their 50s and 60s, and representing Canada on the world stage, and they deserve to get some highlight and profile too, especially since they're really doing it for the love of the game and pretty much not for glory or money. There are very few people that win the World Senior Championships that get on a box of Wheaties. Just saying. All right. And since we are speaking of curling, we might as well say it. We thought it would come out eventually, and it did. At the Scotties, the day before competition started, it was deemed that the lead for Team Canada that was in the pool, her name is Brianne Harris, was deemed ineligible. And then Curling Canada went radio silent, as did her team, as did Brianne Harris.
Mm-hmm.
We always thought that it was very weird because it was bad PR. It seemed like to leave everyone to speculate. Well, now we know why. We always figured we'd know why eventually, but we did. And Devin Haru has done some very, very, very good work on this throughout the whole championship. He was asking and going to every source he possibly could, and everybody was tight-lipped. And he said, guys, I'm really trying to get the story for you, but it's like hermetically sealed. I really can't, but I'll stay on it. And it seems that Brianne Harris was provisionally suspended for up to 4 years after testing positive for a banned substance called ligandrol. Or ligandrol. I've never heard of it before. I had heard of it before, but it had been a long time ago, and so I'm not quite exactly sure how you pronounce that.
Yeah, I've never heard of that one before.
Yeah. No, apparently it seems that the A test result came back shortly before it started, and when they do tests, they take an A sample and a B sample, and if the A sample comes back positive, then they take some time to test the B sample, and then that happened, and during that entire time, for the benefit of everyone, they remained tight-lipped and silent in case the B sample came back negative, and then there would be nothing more to say, because you don't want to drag somebody's reputation through the mud there. According to Brianne Harris, she says, I was entirely shocked and devastated when I became aware of my positive test results. As someone who does not take any supplements at all and even hesitates to take Advil or Tylenol, I was in disbelief that this could happen to me. I was crushed that I could not play in the Scotties Tournament of Hearts and help my teammates defend our title. My goal now is to resolve this as soon as possible to preserve my Olympic dreams. It would be unbearable to have that in jeopardy over no wrongdoing in my part. Now, ligandrol is banned by the World Anti-Doping Agency. It is used to increase energy and muscle growth, and people will turn around and say, well, curling, right, what do you need that? Well, in today's curling, with arena ice, the way that it is, a lot of people will throw rocks that are relatively slow and what they call giving it to the sweepers, and a lot of sweepers will do end-to-end sweeping on these rocks, and we're talking about hitting a target that's 126 feet away when that rock is launched. So the amount of pounds per square inch that someone can put on a sheet of ice when they're sweeping really, really matters, particularly now that they allow directional sweeping, because back in the day when I was learning, you could only sweep the front of the rock. But now you can knife the edges to try and bend it and curve it and all that kind of stuff. So it's a lot of upper body strength. It's a lot of not aerobic cardio, but anaerobic cardio. So short bursts of really, really high cardio. Michael was on my team, my Tuesday night team, and we can tell you that when we're sweeping a rock end to end and we're really pounding that, by the time you get to the other end, your heart rate's at over 150 beats a minute. And then you have to bring it. If you're sweeping and then throwing the next rock, then you have to bring it way down. It's almost like biathlon athletes. They're cross-country skiing, and then they get to the shooting target, and they have to bring the cardio rate really down to be able to hit that target. That's the same thing here. So the amounts of pound per square inch, that's why when you're watching some of the men playing curling, you're watching them more and more of them are getting buff.
Yeah, they're hitting the gym and doing weights.
Yeah. And making sure that you keep and then the other thing is, those triple and quadruple takeouts are not happening on their own. So the amount of leg drive that takes when you're pushing out of that, and then to maintain your core balance. So, stamina and strength is a part of curling, whereas back for, people will show us tickets curling in 1972 with people cigarettes in their mouths as they're throwing the rocks, right? So it really is much more of a sport now. Now, the thing with Ligandrol is that, unlike other performance-enhancing drugs, it actually is transmissible through bodily contact.
Oh, really? So somebody could have...
Yes, and also bodily fluids. So there was a case of this a couple of years ago in Canada, and I believe it was one of our paddlers, a canoe star, named Laurence Vincent Lapointe, who I believe was a world champion in canoeing at the time that they were getting ready for the Summer Games in Tokyo, or had been. And, she said that she was ready, and then she all of a sudden faced a 4-year ban because she was found to have trace amounts of Ligandrol in her system after failing an out-of-competition doping test last July. Ligandrol is an actual authentic product, however, medically approved product. It's used to treat conditions such as muscle wasting and osteoporosis, and has considered to have effects similar to anabolic steroids. So it's not just like a pure steroid. It actually is a legitimate drug that is used for things. Now, Vincent Lapointe was cleared in time for the games. And it seems that in her case, it was her partner who had started taking it through some types of supplements. And it seems that, no way to put it delicately, but exchanges of bodily fluids, such as semen, sweat, and saliva with her boyfriend, made it so that they were able to find trace amounts in her body.
So he was on the jack, but she wasn't.
She wasn't, and apparently she didn't know that he was. And then apparently when he found out that she was having trouble, he sort of kept mum about it first, and then eventually they found what it is. They provided a hair sample from a certain period of time, and there was traces that they could be detected in the hair sample. And then they went and tested the supplements that he was using, and sure enough, the Ligandrol was found in that substance. It says here the former boyfriend later admitted also to using another substance, SR9011, which he had hidden. A large amount of this prohibited substance was found in the SR9, the sample during analysis. So she said, finally, he admitted to me that he had taken it in the evening of July 25th before soccer practice, and Laurence was tested on the morning of the 29th.
Okay, so, yeah.
So 25th, perhaps had bodily contact of some kind.
So she was found to be innocent in the end?
Yep, and she was allowed to compete at the Tokyo Olympics. So hopefully, it'll be a similar situation here, because often when it comes to, in Canada, we're in a unique situation, right? Because we had the whole Ben Johnson thing. It's like, no, I didn't do it. And then, everybody wanted to believe him at first. And then they kept on doing tests. And then at one point he got over his ban, and then he started competing again. And whoops, he did it again.
Right.
And then we have like the Lance Armstrong thing on the whole international scene. No, I never did it. I swear to God, up and down. And then X number of years later, oh, well, I kind of did it. So most people, when they hear, go, oh, I don't know how this drug got in me. Somebody must have spiked my drink. We tend to be a little more skeptical about that in Canada because we have a history of having placed our belief in people who did not deserve to have our belief. But it seems that with this particular drug, we probably might be a little well served by giving people a little more benefit of the doubt here on this one, because it has happened before and it has happened in that way. So, yep, for people who are wondering, that's the story with Brianne Harris. Hopefully they'll be able to clear up what the source of contamination is, and that she'll be able to have her status reinstated, because Olympic year is 2026, so it's coming up.
Yeah, it's this next 2 years.
2 years away. 2 years away. So fortunately, she has enough time for that to clear up.
Oh, that's Winter Olympics. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, the Winter Olympics. Summer Olympics are...
Yeah, because Paris Olympics are this year.
Exactly. And a little Summer Olympic note, it seems that the Olympic flame, because there's the whole torch relay happens, is going to be starting, I believe, on March 8th, I think. No, not March 8th. That can't be right, because March 8th has already passed. Is set to arrive in the city of Marseille on May 8th, and will be at the City Hall in Paris on July 14th, which is Bastille Day.
Right.
So that'll be interesting over there. And of course, a lot of our athletes are getting ready to compete there, and we wish them a lot of luck. Now, how do we put it? There's news. We've been talking a lot about the government of India lately, because the Prime Minister of Canada, after going to a G20 summit where he seemed to have not had the warmest of relationships with Prime Minister Modi, came back home,
to say the least,
and announced in the House of Commons that they had intelligence that the assassination of Hardeep Singh Nijjar was an extrajudicial killing in which the government of India played some type of role, allegedly, executed on Canadian soil. And it seems that, as we mentioned on the show before, the Prime Minister tried to have settled this in a diplomatic way behind the scenes, to not have to put the dirty laundry out in public, but India was not receptive to that, and so he made it public, which caused the Conservatives in our nation not to stand with the Prime Minister on this one, but to doubt him, and first give credit to India. And now we might have some avenues as to why that is, because there's now a CSIS investigation into the nomination of Arpan Khanna, who had won a by-election, because it seems the government of India may have interfered in that in some way. And we reported recently about the government of Iran interfering in another conservative nomination. So it seems that conservatives have a hard time securing their candidate selection processes, either for their leaders, because there hasn't been a clean selection of a leader of the Conservative Party of Canada in a good long while. And now it seems that down to the nomination races, they seem to have some trouble. So for a party that's a lot about law and order, they have a lot to clean up in their own house before they start pointing fingers at anyone else. So that's the background story on that. And then, as we know, the government of India tried a lot of character assassination things, like printing some terrible articles in India that papers like the Toronto Sun here were very eager to pick up on and disseminate, even though they weren't true, like stories about our prime minister's plane being filled with cocaine, which nobody knows how the government of India would know about that, because there's no way they would have been able to get on that plane. And we had journalists who were on that plane who went on that trip. They came back and said, yeah, that thing they said that they had about going on the plane and raiding the plane, yeah, that never happened.
No.
That never happened. And yes, as Kit Mohan says, with credible sources to back up the claim, and that's credible sources from our Five Eyes partners. Because as we know, when we talk about the Five Eyes, basically, they take their intelligence that they want to share with the other ones and they put it up somewhere. It's sort of like this library that everybody else could consult. And when that came along, some of our partners, I believe Australia and the United States in particular, put some information up there and said, yeah, what Canada's saying is true. And then later on, we found out that through the United States that they actually have a court case going on, because there's been a plot to do that on American soil as well, which had been foiled. And it had been foiled in part because of what Canada did by blowing the whistle on that.
Right.
So by the Prime Minister, who had been criticized by the Conservative Party of Canada, actually turned out to be a little bit of an international hero by doing that, because who knows how many other lives would have been lost in the United States.
Yeah, it's tough to say that we don't know, but by the sounds of things, certainly would have been a great deal more.
Yes. Well, the other day, one of our nation's most respected investigative journalism programs, The Fifth Estate, had a special episode having to do with everything that's going on with regard to this. And I can't remember the title of it for the life of me. But
hang on, I got it here.
Oh, darn.
Inside an alleged plot by the Indian government to kill Sikh activists in Canada, the Fifth Estate.
There we go. And, well, it seems that the government of India got word of the fact that the episode was created, of course, and that the Fifth Estate put it on their YouTube site, and the government of India didn't quite like that. So they picked up the phone and they called YouTube, and they had one of these nice social media operation you have here in our country of over 1 billion people. Sure would be a shame if you couldn't do business here anymore, wouldn't it be? Conversations, which has caused YouTube to block access to that episode within India.
Because, transparency in the government is paramount. Jesus Christ. I wonder if, Modi is Stephen Harper's IDU buddy. I wonder if old Steve-O suggested to them that they do that because of the fact that, it's pretty damaging.
Yes, it is pretty damaging. Now, it seems that the Indian government has what's called an Information Technology Act that was passed in, I think, maybe 2000, or it's called Information Technology Act 2000. And according to one section of that act, the government has the power to, quote, intercept, monitor, or decrypt any information generated, transmitted, received, or stored in any computer resource. And such action can be taken in the interest of either the sovereignty or integrity of India, defense of India, the security of the state, friendly relations with foreign states, public order, or for preventing incitement to the commission of any cognizable offense relating to these, and investigating any offense. So all the things that everybody was claiming was in Canada's internet law, which aren't, actually are in India's. So yes, they are blocking access and making sure that nobody in country gets to see that. Of course, the Canadian government opposes this, and so do the people from the Fifth Estate. They say Indian law obligates X to withhold access, and so the Indian government has also done the same thing on Twitter. has called them up and said, yeah, you have to block that in India as well.
Yeah, it's all very suspect.
Yeah, indeed.
They just don't want anybody to know what they did, and what they did was not good.
Yeah. The Fifth Estate, of course, stands by its story, saying that it was well researched and all of that kind of stuff, which is also a typical response from media at that time. So we'll see what develops there, if anything. But yeah, it's very, 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 very much according. Chuck Thompson, spokesman with CBC News, Wednesday, they stood by its story. He said, to ensure fairness and balance, the documentary included a wide range of voices, witnesses, and subject matter experts. And as is the case with all the stories of the Fifth Estate, Contract to Kill, which was the name of the episode here, was thoroughly researched, vetted by senior editorial leaders, and meets our journalistic standards.
The Fifth Estate has long been one of the leading news magazine investigative journalist programs on the air. I don't mean just in Canada. I mean, period, airing anywhere on Earth.
Yep. Yep.
So if they said it, you can believe it.
Yeah. Corinne McSherry, who's a legal director of the Electronic Frontier Foundation, which is a San Francisco-based organization focusing on civil liberties on the internet, she said these actions by the India government are part of a pattern they've seen over the past few years. The government will take advantage of its own laws to pressure social media companies to take down content it doesn't like. Quote, unfortunately, at this point, it's got pretty broad legal powers to do that, and as far as we can tell, it is not hesitating at all to use them. The companies are in a difficult position because, on the one hand, if they want to be able to provide services in a given country, they may need to comply with those countries' laws, whether or not they want to.
Yeah.
So that's going on the India side with regard to X or Twitter and YouTube. On the United States side, with regard to TikTok, the entire House of Representatives had a vote yesterday when it came to TikTok, and they voted in favor of
banning it.
Yeah, basically, it's not so much banning it per se right now, but it is forcing the company that currently owns it, called ByteDance, which is a company that is based in China, to have to divest itself of TikTok.
Yeah.
And put it for sale so that someone else can buy it. I'm guessing in this case, probably some American source will want to buy it under the basis that TikTok is obligated, given its operating in China, obligated to share personal data to share personal data that it collects with regard to operating its site with the Chinese communist government. Now,
I was led to believe that they were sold to a Singaporean conglomerate. I could be wrong.
Yeah. Well, ByteDance is the parent company of TikTok, and it is registered. It is considered to be a Chinese company at the moment. And they say that, of course, all the data they collect can pose a security threat. Now, the purpose of the move, as I mentioned, was to get ByteDance to divest from the company within 6 months of enactment of the law, failing which the app may be banned completely in the United States. And by banned, they mean that app stores in the United States would be banned from having TikTok listed there as a product that people can get.
Would that mean, the way that works out, though, does that mean if you already have the product, it's no longer going to work? Are they going to block access to it? Because I can see the ACLU getting all over them for that one.
Yeah, well, that's what a lot of them are doing right now. They are, a lot of people are making the freedom of speech argument there. And the American government is trying to make the point that it's like, we don't want to restrict your freedom of speech, is we want to protect the seizure of your data. So, yeah, but things are about to get messy there, because China, of course, is the government of China is portraying this as Americans trying to steal their technology. Ring,
yeah,
ring. Hello, Cauldron. Yeah, this is Kettle. Just wanted to let you know you're black. Okay, good chat.
Okay, just making sure, just checking.
Okay.
Just checking.
Yeah.
Wow.
I can't believe they're trying to steal our technology, said the Chinese government with a straight face. Or as best as it could manage.
I can't even. I can't even. I can't
Who would
even.
do such a thing? That's so terrible. Yes, terrible. Yeah, it's terrible. It's awful. Yeah.
I can't
People
even.
really shouldn't do that. Why is
I
everybody looking at me?
I don't know how to even. Like, good God.
I I guess they have to try.
Well, you got to make it look like it anyway. Jesus Christ Almighty!
Oh my God.
It's really like
if the stakes weren't so high, there is literally a part of me that would be going, "Oh my God, they're so cute when they deny that they do the exact same thing."
yeah.
Oh my word. So the other thing that's going on is that there seems to be a coordinated campaign by our premiers to get the prime minister to put a halt to the scheduled increase in carbon regulatory pricing, which is going to take place on April 1st. Now, of course, because it's April 1st, well, everybody is, starting up with the, oh my God, it's April Fool's, but the joke's on you. Ha, 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 ha. Right. But it seems that 7 premiers, the premiers of all 4 Atlantic Canadian provinces, the premier of Ontario, the premier of Saskatchewan, and of course the premier of Alberta.
Big surprise
because,
there.
Once again with that wonderful can't-do attitude, who, by the way, finally did get her visit with the Prime Minister Trudeau.
I saw that.
Because he went to Alberta.
I haven't heard what she had to say, but yet she had I think Nate posted a clip of her discussing it, but I haven't had a chance to watch it yet.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, so we'll probably say that for another episode. But yes, because apparently the last time he was in Alberta, last time she was in Ottawa,
Yes.
she kept on saying, "Hey, invite me to this committee. I'll talk," because, she would attend the opening of an envelope if it gets her on TV to be able to spout her nonsense. So, and of course that didn't happen. Of course, she didn't meet with the Prime Minister there. And then the Prime Minister came to Edmonton about 3 weeks ago to make a housing announcement. And then she complained that the Prime Minister didn't meet with her, but she didn't actually ask for a meeting. So,
Yeah. And then she tried to frame it like, oh, he ignored me. It's like, no.
Exactly. I mean, every time she opens her mouth and talks about him, she has something nice. She doesn't have the nicest things to say. So, I mean, you could forgive the Prime Minister from going to Alberta and figuring, well, she doesn't really like me. So, I mean, I won't make time. I'll let you know I'm coming, but I'll make time. But she didn't pick up the phone and say, yeah, I would like to meet you. So now they finally are meeting, and they're talking a little bit. And because of course carbon date is coming, and all the premiers, well, we're in an affordability crisis, and they have to look like they're doing something.
Yeah.
So like Nova Scotia Premier Tim Houston. Well, he sent a letter. Now, kids.
Oh, no.
This is going to seem contradictory from us because we always tell you to write letters.
Yeah.
Now, when I say this, anybody can write a letter. When a citizen writes a letter to the Prime Minister or the Premier or to a minister and asks for one thing, right? That is the public letting someone know how they feel about something. When the Premier, who actually has power to pass laws and make budgetary decisions, decides that their course of action is to write a letter, that's kind of weak. It's a PR stunt. When you write a letter, your letter's not going to actually necessarily be covered by the press. When you write a letter, you don't have billions of dollars in a budget to control and the ability to pass laws to change situations. You do not have the ability to directly, materially affect the situation pretty much single-handedly.
No, you don't.
A premier does.
That's the difference.
So when a premier says, we have a problem, I'm writing a letter to the manager. Dear manager of Canada, the carbon price.
I don't like it. I want you to take it away.
Right. So again, as we mentioned, right, the whopping 2.86 cents per cubic meter of gas rise in the carbon regulatory fee, which is going to amount to about $1.02 has been calculated on a tank of gas on average. That is the thing that these 7 premiers are going all around Canada and all around their provinces saying, that's the thing that's going to make the difference between you putting food in your belly, making your rent, making your mortgage, and being able to heat your home. $1.02 per tank.
Yeah, can you handle that? Can you handle that?
Like this, and if that hike was just canceled, everything would be great. Or heck, if they just scrapped it all together and you would save that 14 cents or whatever, right? All 7 of them, in a coordinated fashion, wrote that letter.
Yeah.
All 7 of them are provinces in which the backstop applied.
Mm-hmm.
All 7 of them are provinces in which those premiers could do something with their budgets, because some of them are sitting on surpluses, to give money back to the citizens of their provinces to help them with the affordability crisis. But they choose not to.
Yeah.
All of them, except for New Brunswick, who's trying to buy people's votes with $300. But everybody else,
Yeah, it's a good weekend.
They could.
$300, that's it. It's not
I guess,
carrying you very far.
but they've chosen not to. Danielle Smith had a lot of money, but she decided to put it all into the Heritage Savings Trust instead of giving people a little bit to help them through the affordability crisis. And she did that so that when she comes to labor negotiations, she won't have to pay people what they're worth, which would help them with the affordability crisis. So they don't want to give you money. And then you have Scott Moe saying, well, you know what? I'm just going to tell you not, tell the energy company not to bill you for the carbon tax. So I'm going to counsel people to break the law.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not offering people extra money as well. That's the way he's offering extra money. He's going to say, like this, I'm going to leave money in your pockets by not charging it to you in the first place, but you still have to pay it.
You still have to pay it. So it's coming out of your pocket somewhere.
It's coming out of your pocket anyway.
And the stink of it is, because they're doing that, he says, and now the government's not going to give you a rebate. Well, if you're not paying it.
Yeah. Now.
The absurdity.
The absurdity of it. Oh. So
we're not dealing with very smart people here. I'm not that smart, and I know he's an idiot.
Yeah, we really.
Scott Moe is not a smart man.
No.
He's not.
No.
I don't even know how he got elected, because he's not charismatic in the least. Did he just say the right things at the right time? Because he's not very smart, he's not charismatic, and he's killed a woman. Why did you elect him, Saskatchewan? Why? I don't get it. You could have made a better choice. He was not a good one.
Yeah. So, yeah, they're all asking him to take it. And all of these 7 premiers, like in a lot of these provinces, Ontario, for example, the carbon backstop was not going to apply until Doug Ford got in and scrapped the cap and trade program.
Which was, well, the BC's had a carbon regulatory recovery plan in place for about a decade, I think.
Before we had a national one, right?
Yeah, long before we had a national one. So that's why it doesn't apply to them, right?
Yeah. So the reason you have, if you live in Ontario, the reason for which you're paying the federal backstop is because Doug Ford scrapped the plan that was in place to make sure that you didn't have to pay it in the first place. So now he's got this issue that he can keep on bashing the federal government with, but you're paying it because he's forcing you to pay it. And then in many of the Atlantic provinces, at first, they had a program. And then there was a switch of government, such as was the case in Nova Scotia. And Tim Houston then turned around and said, you know what? Yeah, this is too hard. We're not doing it. Now, on one side, if all provinces were to do it, we'd have one federal backstop for the entire country. It would apply across the country. It would be easier for businesses to handle because you wouldn't have to deal with different things in different provinces, and different provinces wouldn't have to have their own bureaucracies, and would be fine, and everybody would be clear on what it is. But the federal government wrote this law in such a way that said, you, the provinces, can avoid the backstop being charged to Canadians, and you can keep all the money within your province yourself to manage and direct as you will if you have an equivalent program in your province. And the province, it doesn't have to be a carbon tax. It could have been a cap and trade system. It could have been any other types of measures, right? So long as you met certain goals. Well, these 7 premiers are basically too lazy to do the bare minimum that is legally required to make sure you don't have to pay the carbon tax. So once again, when we say our premiers are the problem, our premiers have decided that it is easier for them to bash the federal government, saying, why aren't you doing anything to help with the affordability? Why aren't you reducing the carbon tax? I'm going to write a letter rather than actually sitting in a room and doing the hard work of developing a plan that makes sure that you don't have to pay it. They've just simply abdicated their job on this front.
Which is not a big surprise.
I don't know if you have the clip ready, Mr. Grizzly?
I do indeed.
The Prime Minister, borrowing a little page from, I think maybe all this talk about from Mulroney, having tried to do big things like the GST and the Charlottetown Accord, whatnot, even though some of these things were unpopular. I think some of that may have poured into this reply.
And a company that says, no, I'm just going to continue to pollute, the fact that they wouldn't get dinged for that doesn't make sense either. So we said, pollution will have a price on it. But more than that, we know there's a lot of families across this country who don't have huge amounts of choices in terms of, oh, I'm just going to buy a much more fuel-efficient car. I'm going to replace my roof or my insulation or my windows. That's a hard investment to make. So we wanted to make sure that people who continue to not be able to change much in their behaviors would get that money back. And that's what we do with the price on pollution. But think about a family that does decide, oh, okay, you know what, we can get a slightly smaller car, or we're going to replace our windows, we'll go for the slightly more fuel-efficient windows. Well, they actually get more money back because they're spending less on that price on pollution. So it's a logical way to do things, but yes, it does require putting a price on things right now so that we can set ourselves up for success in the future. And that's an easy thing for short-term politicians, short-term thinker politicians, to say, oh, we'll get rid of the price. They don't talk about the fact that they're also going to get rid of that check, the Canada carbon rebate, that puts more money in the pockets of the vast majority of Canadians. And they don't have a plan, or they don't talk about how they're going to actually use the heavy hand of government through regulations or through subsidies or some other way to pick winners and losers in the economy as opposed to trusting the market. Now, your question, Rick, is sort of, well, that all makes sense. Why are so many people still against it? Well, you know, that's a question we all have to ask. But my job is not to be popular. My job, although it helps, my job is to do the right things for Canada now and do the right things for Canadians a generation from now. And that's what I've been focused on. And yeah, it's not always popular. But I know that doing the right things today, that support people today, that deliver that better future a generation from now, 2 generations from now, is going to make a huge difference in the path we take forward.
Well,
short-term thinker politicians.
Which is exactly what most of them are. They're literally trying to win the nanosecond, right?
Yep. Canada, get yourselves a leader who plays the long game.
Yeah, no kidding.
I
And
really
that's
like
just
that. My
yeah.
job is not to be popular, although it helps.
Yeah.
My job is to do the right things for the long term. That's what it is about. If you're only thinking, like as a business community, if you're only thinking in terms of the next quarter or your next annual results, if as a politician you're only thinking in terms of your next 4-year term, the big things do not get done. The big important things do. Why do you think why do you think all of a sudden we're in 2024 and it's like, oh my God, all the seniors are getting old at the same time?
Oh
It's
no.
not like we haven't known about that. We've been talking about it every year for like 25 years in the
Yeah.
press about this cohort of seniors coming.
The boomers are getting old.
Boomers are getting older. We're going to have to do something. Oh my God, the demands on our healthcare system. And now that we're here, look at the state of our healthcare system.
Oopsie.
That's because we had a succession of short-term thinking premiers who didn't do the work to prepare for what was coming in 20 or 25 years, even though we all knew it was coming.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Not a secret. We all knew.
And then all of a sudden, now we have to throw a ton of money in it all at once, which is making spending pressure decisions. It means, well, if we have to put that money in this much money in this, what are the things that we can't put money? Who do we have to starve in order to fill the hole that we allowed to get larger and larger over the past 20 years? Because we didn't do the responsible thing, because there were no votes in doing the thing that would make life better 20 years from now in the election coming in 2 years.
Narrow-focused, short-term thinking individuals are going to kill us all. I mean, and I don't mean that in a hyperbolic manner. I mean that realistically. You know, the picture of the Theomudakis political cartoon where it has a poster of Pierre Poilievre and then two people in spacesuits and says, yeah, the old climate went to shit pretty soon after he got elected. You know, if we don't elect people who have good policies that take our future into serious consideration, the future of the planet into serious consideration, we won't have a planet to live on. Hey, yeah, you know, we may have destroyed the place, but, you know, we made some good investments for some shareholders that got real rich real quick. These are people that don't give a damn about the future. They're like, well, I won't be here, so what do I care? These are narcissists.
Yeah.
Pierre Poilievre is a textbook narcissist.
Yes, he wants to be popular.
It's all he cares about. He does not want to govern. He has no plans, no platform. He has no idea how to do a damn thing. All he does is yes, no questions, annoy people, and lie through his teeth. He only cares about winning the nanosecond.
Yeah. He thinks it is his job to be popular.
Yeah.
Not to govern. With regard to...
If more and more people were actually listening to the Prime Minister when he speaks like that, and the interview he did with Ryan Jesperson, I think it would change a lot of hearts and minds across this country. Because even people who watched the interview with Ryan Jesperson who said, I don't like the guy, but you know what? He sold me. The guy actually does care about... And these are people who have never voted Liberal in their lives. Have seen the difference. It's like, wait a minute, this guy actually knows what he's talking about. He knows what he's doing. He's trying to help us. He's trying to build a better country.
He's actually answering the question.
Yeah, exactly. He's answering questions. He's not avoiding. And he's answering the tough questions. And he's not given the questions in advance. He just, you know, I got a very anxious pooch here. Sorry.
That's all right. With regard to Premier Scott Moe, the Prime Minister said that failing to submit the carbon tax reports or pay the amounts owed could come with consequences, including fines and jail time. Quote, you can opt out of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms by using the notwithstanding clause, but you can't opt out of the Federation. You can't opt out of Canada, said Trudeau. We are a country of laws. We are a country of rules, of responsibilities, and we expect people to obey the law.
Exactly. You're going to go outside the law? Well, congratulations. You're a criminal. You just broke the law.
Yep. There will be consequences. So there you go. Very, very, very important. It's the Prime Minister has stood up. I don't think that there is going to be any backing down on this. And while all the Conservatives keep on trying to frame what was done on home eating oil as the Prime Minister backing down or caving, remember that had the Prime Minister only announced a suspension for 3 years on paying carbon regulatory fees on home heating oil, and that was the end of the announcement, they would have a point. But that announcement came with the second part, which was subsidies to help people make the switch from using that source of fuel, which is among the most polluting with regard to GHG emissions and the most expensive, with heat pumps, which are basically as close to zero carbon emissions as you can get. And because you're not having to pay the cost of the actual gas, and because you're not having to pay the carbon surcharge on the price of that gas, results in permanent savings. So permanent financial savings and permanent GHG reductions.
Mm.
If the program didn't include the second component that would help people switch over to heat pumps during that 3-year period, then it would simply have been him caving. But he's trying to get people to make a switch permanently to realize permanent GHG reductions from housing. That's what makes it different. So just like they never talk about the rebate when they're talking about the carbon price, they never talk about the heat pump program when they talk about the action that he took on heating oil. And that's why they always frame it as being something he did to help Atlantic Canadians, as opposed to the truth, helping all Canadians, wherever they live in Canada, who happen to use home heating oil. It is the type of energy being used that got the discount, right? Not the place where.
Yeah, but they have to ignore that because the truth gets in the way of their artificial narrative.
Yep, absolutely. But that's why they're doing that. So you have to be careful. These are little subtle nuances, right? Which is very easy to torque and twist in a 15 to 30 second soundbite. But if you actually know how the law works, and trust me, all of these people know how the law works, because in order to be able to twist and torque like that, you have to be able to understand it, to know exactly where to twist and torque.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So there's none of these people that are turning, well, maybe they just got it wrong, or maybe they mean, no, they don't. They don't. They understand the law and how it works perfectly. These are not people, oh, gee, why are they so dumb? Why do we still have to explain this to them? Because they are paid to not understand. Their financial and political future, according to them, depends on them not understanding. Or creating the illusion that they can't understand, or creating the illusion among the people that this is just so much more complicated. What's the point of what's the point of taking the money in the first place? If you're only going to give it back to me, just leave it in my pocket. To create the price point pressure. Duh. So they forget to mention that part too. So they all try to pretend that I don't understand this. It's so complicated. Why would you do that? It just doesn't make any sense. It won't work anyway. Because we've been doing it for 3 years. It hasn't fixed carbon yet. Our carbon stuff hasn't gone down because we have to bend the curve. Because we didn't do anything for the 10 years previous either. And then the 13 years before that, because let's be honest, Chrétien talked a good game, but he really didn't do much.
No, he didn't.
So, just being informed is a choice. Choose to be informed. Choose to be informed. How are we doing on time, Mr. Grizzly?
We're going to have to wrap it up, sir. I got to take Miss Thang out, and then I got to get to the office. I didn't have time earlier this morning. I slept in a little bit, so gotta take her out so she can, Do what doggies do first thing in the morning.
All right. You said doggy do.
Pick up on that.
Yes. A couple of quick hits. Over the course of this weekend, there will be elections in Russia. Of course, hey, I'm going to go out on a limb here and guess that Putin's going to win.
I'm shocked.
Apparently, there are opposition candidates.
Oh, yeah.
3 have been approved by the Kremlin.
And 3 of them will fall out of windows sometime soon. They'll be defenestrated.
Yeah. Yes. And it seems that in order to give himself increased legitimacy, Putin is going to allow those living in the annexed portions of Ukraine to vote as well.
Interesting. Put
See,
vote
they
against,
are Russian
put
now.
vote
They
in
all
ballot
voted
box.
for me. Yes. Yes, indeed. It seems that a lot of nations across the world will be having elections this year or next, United States being one, Canada next year. So, but there's going to be a lot of them. And it seems that the overall trend, according to pollsters, is that in all these countries, whether the government is from the right or from the left or somewhere else, seems to be that incumbents all over the world are in danger. So it's not just a Canada thing, and it's not just a premier's thing.
84 major elections this year?
Something like that. Yeah. It's a really, really big deal. Let's see. Do I have anything else with you quickly that I can put in there? No, nothing else. Everything else is longer. So we'll save them for another episode. Kids and Cubs. That's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Crier Media Network. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember that sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us, because you have the golden tongues that let people know that we are worth listening to. And we thank you very much every time you do. We really do. If you would like to support us, you can do that thanks to the Ray Girl. She has sponsored our pod page. And if you go to our site, podpage.com/The True North Eager Beaver, lowercase letters with a hyphen between each one of those words, or if you scan that QR code that has just appeared under my chin, that will bring you there. And if you click subscribe there, when we have something fresh off the bandwidth, it comes directly to you. You will not have to miss an episode whatsoever. And if you'd like to support us in other ways, yes, Kit Elaine, right on time. Have a beyond awesome day, everyone. And remember to smash that button before you leave. And you can do that at the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page, where you can click like, share, and subscribe and help us very much to get to, well, we're at 672 right now. So let's
693.
See if we can get to 670.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no,
Pardon?
672. You're right. Yeah, sorry.
672. Let's see if we can get to 675 by the end of the day. And I don't know. Let's can we get to maybe 700 before the end of next week?
That'd be great if we could.
That would be really great. So anything that you can do to help us with that would be great. And if you'd like to help us in another way, the squiggly right by Mr. Grizzly's head brings you to our coffee page. That's coffeeko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, lowercase letters, all in one word. And there you will find the Beaver Lodge Emergency Hydration Fund, where if you happen to have a little bit of money aside and you think that this product has value, well then, if you can leave a little contribution there, that helps us very much to produce this, pay our internet fees, pay subscription fees to things, helps contribute to new equipment. Mr. Grizzly had to get a new computer. So anything that you can do to help us with that, someone just scanned the QR code. Thank you so very much. We really appreciate that. That helps us a lot. Again, hopefully we'll be able to do some thanks on tomorrow's show because we have a longer show and we have a certain number of people to thank since we did it last time. So, we appreciate that very much. All the support that you give is important. The gift of your attention is the most important. If you want to write to us, our email address is truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com. We do love to hear from you. And if you are listening to us on Apple Podcasts, please have some time, if you do, to give us a review or to give us some stars. We would really appreciate that. Someone else scan the QR code. Thank you so very much. I really appreciate that. Kit Shea asks, have you thought about starting a Patreon? We have, but not yet. I think that when we get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, there will be additional ads that will start appearing. And maybe at that point, it might be worth it for people who don't want to watch ads. But right now, we don't have actually any real additional bonus content or any value added
we can
offer.
We can offer that on YouTube right now, not through Patreon. Through YouTube, we can create so you can subscribe to the channel, but then you can join. So when you join, which is different than subscription, we can create additional content for those who've joined, and then it's a monthly fee that you pay, like $2 or something like that. We can set, there's different tiers, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. You can do that directly through YouTube. You don't have to go through Patreon for that. But we might consider Patreon as well. Anything's on the table.
Yeah. But stuff like that. So, but generally, the overall core principle, however, is that if we're going to do something, because right now we're offering like this and we're working it for tips, but if we were going to do something more that we would ask people for an annual fee of some type, we'd have to be able to create some type of value added to go with that. And we're just ask people to pay to get the exact same thing.
We'd have additional content, but we just right now we don't have the time to create the additional content.
That's also the other thing. So it's more of a value for money proposition at this point, and value for your money proposition. We don't want to. We want to build community, and we want to some help and some assistance in that. But we also don't want to gouge you or start making. We don't want to shrinkflation you. Make you pay more to get the same thing or a little less.
Ever going to do that. If you join like the membership thing, the Patreon thing, that's when there'll be additional content available. But we literally don't have the time to create additional content right now, unfortunately. I mean, 75 hours on average a week is what I'm putting in. So, between the day job and this. Yeah. So, we're doing everything we can right now to keep it rolling along. But once we get there, and merch is going to be forthcoming. I'm going to do a little bit of work this weekend to get some designs together, and then discuss with some folks that can do what they do. Is that it's like a print on demand thing. So we don't actually have anything in inventory. It's like when you order it, they print it and send it to you, and then we get a portion of the sale.
Yep. Got Kit Ina going, there could be singing and dancing. Yes, there could. Yes, there could.
I hurt myself today to see if I still feel.
Oh, man. I love you, Kits. You're wonderful and delightful. And thank you very much. What else? So, we did all the ways that you could support us because democracy is something that you do. Write those letters. Unlike premieres, those letters matter. All right. So do write those letters. Mr. Grizzly, do you have some words of wisdom for us, please?
Honestly, I've been having a real struggle today just to get through the show because this migraine is really taking its toll on me. That's why I've been relatively quiet while I was doing some work in the background here today. So the only thing I can say is for migraine headaches, ice packs help. And that's about all I got.
Yes, indeed. All right, kits and cubs, given that, I will tell you that it could be a tough world out there. So please be kind to and gentle with yourself. And as Kit Michael has just said right on cue, Mr. Grizzly, cue the cock. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. And for our Easter egg today, Kit Cassie, you asked, could you play Wap Canoe's speech on Rainbow Kids Support Yesterday in Manitoba Ledge on tomorrow's show? No, we can't. We can't play it on tomorrow's show because we're going to do that now.
I also want to clean up the mess caused by the PCs when they want to act like people who use different pronouns are something that our children need to be protected from. I am a parent with kids in the public school system. My colleague from Union Station, my colleague from Kirkfield Park are not people that my kids need to be protected from. In fact, if my boys grow up to show some small measure of the courage, integrity, and grace of my colleagues, I will die a happy man knowing that my work as a father was successful. We are going to continue calling this out each and every single day because the real thing that kids in Manitoba need to be protected from is hatred and bigotry. I also want to clean up.
And as an Indigenous man, he would know a little something about having hatred and bigotry sent his way.
Oh, yeah.
Just when I think I can't love that man anymore.
I know. I hear you. All right. I got to go. I got to get to the office.
All right.
I'll see you.
Bye.